Okay, we got one other thing that I want to put a little emphasis on when it comes to part writing, and that is this diminished 2 chord in minor keys. So let's throw a C minor key signature up here. So now we're in C minor, so let's look at this 2 chord, and let's spell it. Let's use our part writing here, because we have a doubling problem with this 2 diminished chord. Let's do it in root position, and then we'll talk about that. So let's go D, whoops, gotta do that on layer 2. Man, these layers are so hard to keep track of. D, and then, so it's D, F, A flat. So let's do an F there, an A there, and then what are we gonna double? Let's try doubling the root. Sure. Okay. Problems. So the dissonant interval in a diminished chord is this fifth. It's a diminished fifth, right? So we don't want to emphasize that. So the biggest way that I have emphasized it here accidentally is by doubling one of those 2 notes right there, right? So what we want to do is, when we voice a diminished 2 chord, or really any kind of diminished chord, we don't want to double the root because it emphasizes that dissonant interval. And we don't want to double the 5th because it also emphasizes that interval. We want to double the 3rd in a diminished 2 chord. So D, F, F, A. That's a better way to do it. Another thing that comes about is, once we move on to resolving this, we'll find that root position in this is fairly uncommon. This diminished 2 chord, it just doesn't sound great in root position, mostly because we're doubling the 3rd. So why not put the 3rd in the bass, right? So 2/6 is much more common. I could do that. Let me go back. Okay, let's just do it from scratch again, right next to it. So let's put the 3rd in the bass. So let's do F, and then maybe we could do our A flat next. And then I still want to double this F, but I need a C in it now. Okay, that's okay. So here I have the 3rd in the bass, which is doubled, which is what we want on a diminished chord. And then I have the A and the C, which is a different dissonant interval, but that's okay. Let's hear the 2 of these side by side and see if we can tell which sounds better. This one's pretty crunchy. Right? So I think this one sounds a little bit better. And the only real difference between these 2 now is that this one is in first inversion. First inversion, diminished chords are just generally sound better. So when you're facing a diminished chord, throw it into a 6 inversion or a first inversion, and that will sound a little bit better. It'll be a little bit easier to deal with. Okay, let's move on and talk about predominant 7th chords.